Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the known world. Welcome to another interview with The Crown Between Two Roses. We actually have a member of our crown with us as a co-host today. Her Majesty England is going to help me interview the Baron and Baroness of Ynys, Baron David and Baroness Arabella. We start all of our interviews with obviously the acknowledgement of our First Nation people. So just one moment, please, while I read out the affirmation. Good nobles, we come here together today in the fellowship of in our fellowship to deepen our knowledge and to share our skills, to share our interest in the search to find truth through experimental archaeology and historical inquiry. It is in this context that I, Countess Lilia bint Hazir, on behalf of our kingdom, would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of our lands upon which we gather. We recognize their continuing connection to land and culture, and we pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and to the elders from other communities that may be here today. So, thank you, first of all, Your Excellencies and Your Majesties, for joining me. I am going to drop the formality and probably call you all by your first name, so I do apologize if I cause any offense. But we are very pleased to have David and Arabella come and join us and tell us about their barony. Lochac is an amazing country, two countries, and Ynys is one of our most beautiful isles. So to start the proceedings, I am going to ask you where your barony situates mundanely for those of us who don't know.
Well, we're Australia's most southern state of Tasmania, and I believe it stretches across 2 continents. We also lay claim to Antarctica as well.
So we're the little island at the bottom of the map where people often either miss unintentionally, or it's a very secret place down here.
So do you know where your device has come from?
Well, Ynys Fawr is Welsh for Big Island, and our device more or less signifies the gold through the middle is the island, and the blue around the outside are the seas.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So being the southern island, how long does it take to get to your closest baronial neighbour?
I mean, if you're walking, it will take many days.
Well, I guess by ferry it's overnight, or yeah, it's about 12 hours, I guess, if you go by ferry. But if you jump on the plane, a couple of hours, I suppose. Yeah. So not too far away, but far enough.
So you either have to pack light or expect a long journey.
Exactly. The ferry can be arduous at times through kraken infested waters, definitely.
So do you know when your barony was established within Lochac?
Quite some time ago. I can't remember, no. Let me see, was it around 1993?
I'm guessing so.
July the 10th, 1993, or about.
Probably that.
It is now. So you have some founding members of, like, we all know that Mistress Rowan was one of the first people to bring the SEA to Australia, but you have some of the founding members who live down in Tasmania as well, don't you? And they were your Baron and Baroness, your first Baron and Baroness. Is that correct?
Certainly is. Baron Roth and Baroness, it's now Master Rolf and Mistress Medallion.
Yeah.
And they've actually, probably a first for a barony down here, is that they've actually reigned twice. So they were the first B&B and I think the 6th B&B.
Wow. That's a lot of love for your barony to spend all that time. That's awesome. Is there any traditions or things that you guys do that might be a bit unique that you really enjoy doing as part of your barony?
Well, one of our favourite traditions is welcoming travellers across the kraken-infested waters and plying them with food and drink. We like doing that. The other thing that we do like doing is toasting our king and queen. And we also toast our sister barony of Rivenoak in the West Kingdom. And we just like toasting in general. Toasting's good.
Can you tell us more about the sister barony? It's not
well, back in our barony's initial inception, there was actually two kingdoms. Well, the Kingdom of the West, there was two baronies that were came about within a few days of each other, which is quite rare or never happens. One of the barony of Rivenoak, I guess there's this Rivenoak or a tree in California that was featured in a movie with Robin Hood, and it was starring with the well-known Tasmanian actor Errol Flynn. And I believe they may even have, as part of their regalia, a piece of the Rivenoak tree as part of their regalia. And since that time, our barony has been toasting our sister barony of Rivenoak at feasts ever since.
That's cool.
That is very cool and very unique. So I am going to ask you what your principal event is. I've been down a couple of times to Tasmania, but I can honestly say I've enjoyed all different kinds of events. But what would you encourage people to travel across on the ferry to see in your lands?
Well, do you want to go?
No, you can take it.
Keep it going? Okay. I think, to be absolutely honest, I think it's been some time since Ynys has had a signature event. You're right. We've had many, many great events down here. The fine food feast. There's been many great feasts down here and events down here, but it has been a while since we can have like a signature event that we can call our own. But we're excited, and hopefully very soon we'll be able to announce an event down here sometime in early January.
As in, we're announcing in early January, not the event.
Yes, and it'll be a style of event that will complement our reign of what we're trying to do down here. So, and hopefully the idea is to bring many good peoples down here and share fine food and wine and stories and yeah, generally
all
have
of the
a good time.
Things, yeah.
That sounds awesome.
That sounds intriguing.
Stay tuned.
So you mentioned that you're doing a theme while you're ruling. What is that?
Well,
it was quite interesting how this has come about. When we were stepping up and deciding whether we would or wouldn't we take on these roles, one of my conditions of standing in was that I got to pick the period. And for me, I'm in love with Viking, all things Viking, whether it's Russ or travellers. So,
and previously I've been 14th century English. So all my garb and everything has been focused on 14th century English. And it was more or less a mad scramble to make garb. And at this stage, I've still probably only got one set of garb that's Norse. And I just want to stress that we're not Vikings, we're just Norse traders.
I'll pass that on.
A lot of
It is an important thing to say. So your tenure is going to be Norse.
Yes, it will.
Specifically
Nordic.
However,
Nordic.
if one of the populists would like to stand up and do another different style of event, we're happy to embrace that as well. Happy to time travel.
Excellent. You are. Maybe not Arabella.
I'm more than happy to time travel.
She'll be fine.
Yeah.
And you only have one set of garb. Is that correct, Your Excellency? That is in Norse?
That's it.
I have quite a few more than what?
I'm not very good at sewing, and my wife won't sew for me.
No.
The question is,
So,
are you doing
I
laundry?
have to convince other people to do it for me, and yeah. My current set of garb was made by Mistress Madeline.
Ah, very nice.
So long as you know how to wash it, one set's fine.
I agree. Change your undergarments. You'll be fine.
So I was lucky enough to be down there to invest you guys earlier this year. So can you tell us a little bit about how long you've been sitting on the thrones and what's been going on since then?
Well,
March?
it was very lucky that you managed to get down here, because if I believe at the time you weren't so sure you'd be able to make it, and we may have been the first online investiture, but luckily you were able to come, and we had a great time, and we were invested,
and much merriment happened, and then a week later COVID happened.
So yeah, it's been 8 months of interesting times.
So, and in that time we've had about 2 courts since. So for us, even though we have stepped up and been leadership in this barony, for us it does feel a little bit strange and also new to the role, even though we are and have been acting in the role for quite a long time.
So what at the moment, because so you've been on the, I'm going to say, baronial thrones since March.
Yes.
What have you been doing to interact with your populace and to encourage people to maintain their memberships and keep the game going?
Well, initially we Amberly, or Arabella, and I created some online videos where
kind of
really,
well, I called it medieval hacks. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a while. Essentially, it's taking things that are relatively easy to make or reproduce and filming kind of a tutorial, so that people who don't necessarily have or are new to the game, or are looking for different interesting quick things to do. So that's kind of what we started, filming a few of them and uploading it for our populace. And then we were very fortunate as well that many of our members really embraced the technology online. So we're able to help and join in with them as well.
and
So Ynys online?
sorry?
Ynys online?
Well, it's more or less Ynys online, but it was more or less us showing you how to do a cheat way of making things, or just out of materials that you have at hand, and not being able to you can't go out and buy it because maybe
That's what we stockpiled for before Corona, wasn't it? We all just had to buy a big with fabrics and stuff. That's what I'm doing. I haven't bought fabric since I've been in Corona.
Most people went and bought toilet paper. Scadians went and bought fabric.
Yeah, fabric and stuff to make.
And I guess we've been lucky down here too in Ynys Fawr, where we're a little bit insulated as far as the virus is concerned.
And because of our Kraken infested waters, it's our biggest defence against that virus. So we've been quite fortunate that although we've had many restrictions locally, we've been quite fortunate to still have a lot of freedom with a 1.5 metre distance between people. So we're very fortunate and grateful for the things that we've been able to do.
That's great. So I know you've only had a couple of opportunities to do in-person stuff, but Arabella, do you call David Dad or Your Excellency?
It can be a mixture of both, I guess. I'm still getting used to those things. If people who do not know Dad or David, myself, or whatever comes out, usually we're the first father-daughter couple sitting as Baron and Baroness. And we were very clear that when we decided to step up and put our name out there, that we always will be father-daughter in game and in life as well. So it is a bit confusing over, do I call it Dad? Do I call him Dave? Do I call him Your Excellency? There's a lot of options. But as long
Grand
as...
Poobah, go Grand Poobah.
I'm happy to take on suggestions for what this title should be.
See what I mean?
Is that part of your theatre, the father-daughter relationship?
Definitely. As we live in life, we wanted to also do in game. Where in life we're father and daughter, and in game we're father and daughter as well.
And it works really well because Dad's got a lot of experience, and he's also a little bit more serious when come to things, and then I've got a little bit more of a mischievous glint, and we balance each other out really well.
Yes. Sometimes things go
interesting.
Not as expected in court the first time, let's put it that way.
So what happens if somebody starts to flirt with your Baroness then?
Well, luckily, my fiance also plays. So
right.
Our whole family plays in different degrees, but we're quite lucky in that sense that no advantageous sort of people coming up. So we're good.
So you have a very big network of people who are going to protect or kill people who step over the line then for you.
I feel we're a very, I would say, relaxed barony. We're quite lucky in the sense of our whole barony feels like a family. So not many people would step over the lines, if not in a cheeky sort of way. And we can all take a good joke and we're all in good faith as long as everybody's happy and comfortable and in a good pot.
Look, I've brought up my daughters to be strong women, so I'm sure they'll be fine.
Well done. Very well done. So you were saying that Norse wasn't your persona. How did you start in the society? And what was your initial persona and why did you choose it?
Well, how long we got?
We've got 40 minutes.
Oh, okay. So, how did I start? Well, there was a fellow at my work called Baron Snorri, and we worked together. And one day he said, "Why don't you come along to this event that's happening? It's going to be, I think they called it a bord de jour," and I didn't know what that was. Okay, yeah, I'll go along, and you have to wear some garb and that sort of thing. Yeah, I'm fine with that. And went along, and I found out that it was a dance that we were going to, and not being the greatest dancer, I was like the flower in the corner, more or less, for that period. And then the next event I went to was an event where Mistress Lochac was actually handling the feast, cooking in the kitchen. And it was, again, didn't know many people there. And Mistress Lochac seen me and said, "Come with me." And then I ended up being in the kitchen for that event. So it wasn't until the third event that I actually got to sit more or less more out with people and interact. And that was a royal event up near the base of the mountain, Mount Wellington. And that was really good. I really enjoyed that event. And I guess that was when I started to really get into the SCA and that sort of thing. Started doing some fighting and heavy combat. And yeah, and progressed from there. But how did I get into 14th century English? My family's background is from the UK. We can trace back to about the 16th century. We're all coal miners. So not very nice, but there you go.
There's nothing wrong with that. My family from Scotland were coal miners too. So.
Well, my family name's also Darlington. And I thought that sounded really cool. And Darlington being on the more or less the border between England and Scotland, decided to go down that route. 14th century English, around the time of the 100 Years' War between the French and the English, and of course I went and squired to a French knight, Sir Oz, and so that's been interesting as well, especially when we do the combat of the 30, and it's an English knight that has to fight on the French side because he's got a French knight, and I'm not sure how that happened. Maybe I got captured by the French and was indentured or something. I don't know. It's lots of stories
bit of a grey area.
But yeah, it more or less, I've got to the point where I just embrace everything. There's not enough time for all the things within the SCA that you can do, and yeah, not enough time. So many things to do.
Arabella, what's your origin story?
Well, obviously, I started playing at a very young age, coming along to events, but
Forced.
just as a family thing. But I remember one of
How young, Arabella?
Pardon?
How young?
Oh gosh, I'm thinking I must have been grade 6, so that's going to be around 12, 11, 12 sort of age group. So it was a young enough ago, but started playing, and I believe one of my first memories was at a royal event. I was wearing a apron dress, sort of in a Viking style, and I had myself my beads and my brooches, and I remember looking up at somebody sitting who I later found out was a high table. They were sitting there and they had the most amazing set of beads. They had like 6 or 7 different strands. There were scissors and things hanging off it. And I remember being in such awe. And my dad just said, Amberly, I'll just take you up and I'll introduce you to them. And I, being the shy kid that I was, I went up, I'm standing there. My dad has introduced me to them. I said, they're really cool. And that's about all the words that I could manage to get out. But looking back, maybe 15 or so years later, and I'm wearing the similar style of clothing and sitting where they would have sat, and still growing my beads collection. But it's pretty amazing to, when you look in retrospect and think of how much as a young kid that I would have thought, nah, that's not going to happen, that's not me. And looking now and thinking, oh, I've done that. That's kind of cool, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe when I go and introduce myself to people, I won't just say that's cool and then leave it at that.
I don't think it matters what level of the SEA or what throne you're sitting on. There are still moments where you think, I can't approach that person because they're way too cool for me. It still happens to me today, and people go, but you're so outgoing. I'm like, no, I'm actually quite shy. It takes a while to get the courage up. So, you know, well done. That's awesome.
It's tough being an extroverted introvert. So we'll just...
Yeah.
There's probably now kids starting, or anyone that's thinking the same thing about you that you thought back then.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that, but you know, the more people and the more families that play, the longer that we can continue on this tradition and share our merriment with each other, because it's definitely more than just an event or a society for just people. It's for families and communities. So that's why I get really excited about.
So you both have a very unique, I suppose, perception of the SCA because you are a family. I have a little girl, and Her Majesty has a little boy, and for us, we started not having children before we started playing, and we didn't have children, so it's evolved with our history. Is there anything that you would suggest to people who have young children on how to keep them entertained and engaged so that they become what we nicely call lifers, so that both parent and child are engaged in the society?
I remember when I was quite young, I was big into building things. So I remember Dad used to, at some of the outdoors event, would come along and Dad would have scissors and a bit of rope, and he'd ask me to do things like build him an armor stand or build him something else. And they're the sort of things that I started doing. But then as we got older and a little bit more fidgety, he'd bring out games like board games, and would all be encouraged to play that as well. I think, yeah, you've got more of a fatherly perspective on this.
We do like the games, I must admit. My wife, the lady Michelle, has made a lot of done a bit of research and made a lot of wooden board games and burnt them the patterns on the board. So we quite often take those sort of things to events as well. And some of them are quite easy games for children to learn. Yeah,
just like medieval snakes and ladders sort of things, which are great for family as well, especially if you're during a long feast and you just don't want to sit there and eat. You can pull one out and off you go. But yeah.
Cool, thank you.
So in that time, what would you say would be one of your proudest moments or achievements that you've had personally?
You want to go first?
No, you go.
Okay. So I was thinking about this quite a lot because I saw it as one of the questions that would come up. And for me, although I'm very proud of my own achievements and everything that I do each day I'm proud of, for me, my proudest achievement or the thing that makes me the most proud is watching other people succeed and achieve their goals. So being able to see somebody who has worked so hard on something and put a lot of dedication, or they've spoken with such passion about a subject, and being able to see them recognized for that, whether it's through a thank you or through a simple, acknowledgement or even an award or greater than that. So some of my proudest moments has been seeing people become pelicans, seeing people rise up in roles, becoming knights and things like that, or even, making their first piece of garb, or joining along, or getting their first hole through a target. They're some of my proudest moments. Although I personally may have not been the one achieving, I feel proud of our barony and proud of the people who are achieving them.
Yeah. I guess I've been very, very lucky through my time within the society and have been given a number of awards, but probably the proudest moment I've had, or the best, a highlight, if you will, rather than a proud moment, a highlight, would it be fighting in a crown tourney. I would encourage everyone to fight in a crown tourney. The caliber of the fighters that you go against are just so great. And it's just the experience. For me, being a lower level fighter, I had my wife, Lady Michelle, worried for a little bit of time during the crown tourney, but I have a tendency of giving my all at the beginning, and I run out of steam at the end. So there was very little risk of me being able to win at the end, but being able to go into a crown tourney and give your all and try your hardest was probably the best thing that I've ever done within the SCA. Yeah.
That's cool. I'm gonna kind of reverse the question. What is the proudest thing that each other has done, or what are you most proud of your fellow Baroness?
Well, I'm very proud of I guess, Baroness Arabella's deportment, just on the throne, and her wise words and experience, that even though that she's only a young age yet, still she still shows a lot of experience and forethought and that sort of thing, and caring of others and what others think.
Oh, I was going to say the same, but maybe not with the young age. But I'm proud of everything that my dad does. I'm proud of the level of commitment. I'm proud of how much he puts himself out there, even though we all think that he's extroverted. Sometimes he very much is introverted, but I'm proud of the way he carries himself. I'm proud of the way he sets an example, and for others, not only myself, to follow. Just everything that he does. I couldn't narrow it down to how much pride I feel for this man. Got all the salty questions out of the way.
So I'm going to ask you about the traditional Ynys Fawr coronets. and how high they are. I believe they're actually a period design.
They're stunning. Beautiful coronets.
Very heavy.
Very heavy.
So they're made. They have a lot of gemstones. They're almost. I don't know whether they're like Byzantine sort of style or, but they are quite heavy with all the gemstones and.
Yeah. Very, very pointy.
You feel the weight of office, definitely. These are much lighter.
Yeah. They almost look like a normal size compared to the giant thrones that you've got. We had our first coronation in Ynys, and this was me, a young, kind of freaking out. I don't know what's going on. And we sat on these thrones and I felt so tiny. I'm like,
oh, we're very extravagant people with all of our artisans and creative people in who live in Ynys. So we're very fortunate to have some very ambitious, extravagant, gorgeous, heavy crowns that we love to wear on very special occasions. And yeah.
So they're in your care? They're not kept away in a...
We have them in our
we
care.
Do have them. We pick between.
I can't run away and grab them now.
No.
No.
We unleash the hounds if we leave the room. But
yeah,
we do have them. We do like to. We've worn that for our step up, our investiture. And these ones are a little bit more compact and easier to carry. So we prefer these ones because they're lighter. But both of them are equally beautiful, and we're very, very honoured to have both, because then we can pick based on our outfit which one we want.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. So, were you planning to go to Rony this year before it got cancelled?
Baroness Arabella was definitely going to.
Yeah, I would have loved to have gone. There's many different events that I would love to get a bit of understanding, because there's other than our online events that we've been fortunate to go to, my SEA world is very confined to Ynys at the moment, other than the online experience, which has been amazing. So I look forward to being able to travel, whether with my father or my fiance.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping to go. It ultimately depends on work. For me, with the Rony being during Easter, and I work in seafood. It's my busy time. So by the time I can get away from work, it's just about over. Because with you add on the travel time to get there, it becomes very hard. So when the few years where it's been at a time when it hasn't been at Easter, I've actually been able to go.
Oh. So this is going to sound very egotistical. I do apologize, Your Majesty. Have you met us both before in person?
Oh no.
Oh. You've gone dead.
What's that? Have
I said, have you met myself and Her Majesty in person previously?
I've met Her Majesty, and I think I've met you before. I'm not sure.
Excellent. Because I've definitely met Arabella before.
It sounds like there's a story there.
Okay.
I went to Ynys for Sir Oz's elevation to the Order of the Pelican.
Well, I must have met you there.
Yeah, I would have said so.
See, I can be quiet. But one of the things that struck me about that event was the revel afterwards at your ANS.
At the hall, yes.
Yeah. When I started in the society, that was a regular occurrence after an event, that people would go home, dump their crap, put on a pair of jeans and t-shirts, and head back to socialize with the people who'd been at the event. And it's the first time I'd seen it happen in probably about 10, 15 years. So my lasting impression of your barony will probably be the fact that there is that community like you've been talking about, and family, both at events but also after events. And I miss that. That's one of the things that I definitely miss about playing in the SCA. So well done. I hope you keep that tradition going when you're back on the thrones and able to meet in person. So
it is good. It's nice. Some of the other things that we do as well is we have movie nights at the hall, where it's just, as you say, jeans, t-shirt and pizza, beer, and watch a movie as a group, nice and relaxed. So
yeah, it's great that you have that central meeting spot where you can keep all the gear and kind of just hang out and have events if you want. Or
we're very, very lucky to have that hall. Initially, we sort of had a hall that we went to on a Sunday. We hired it for 4 hours, and we had a little cupboard in a back room where we could have all our stuff. And we had to, everything else was kept at other people's houses. And what happened was we started to do the Hobart show and putting on demos at the Hobart show, which runs for about 4 days. And my family had a connection with the Hobart show, and I put it out there that, it would be nice if there was somewhere where our group could have an area where we could play during the week. And it so happened about another 12 months later, we were given the opportunity to hire the hall. And yes, well, the hall is just slightly more expensive than the hire of that other hall for 4 hours. So we're very, very fortunate indeed.
And it means that we have more time, that we can run more weekly activities and have different nights and specialize in different things, such as our dancing at 1.5 meters and our archery at 1.5 meters, and all of the others that we have at 1.5 meters. But we're very privileged to have our hall and to have that opportunity to be able to give a home to not only our barony and our populists, but also give a home to the many things that have been residing under cupboards, and let them be able to be shown with pride on the walls and hung there.
Yeah.
When we were down there in March, Max was very excited when he found the boffer weapons.
Yes.
I'm surprised we got them out of his hands at the end of the event.
I wouldn't have blamed him. I do get excited when I find the boffer weapons too.
So in the interview, was it last week, with Margie and John, she was telling us the story about the Precious. Can you show us the Precious?
Well, yes, I still have the Precious. So I'll try and show it there. That's the Precious.
And how long have you been holding on to that? What's the story of your elevation?
Since my elevation, which, sorry, I'm out of camera. I'm not sure how long ago that was. It seems like an age ago, but it's probably only a few years ago. Yeah.
And you received it from Beatrice, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've heard the story of the Precious. The Precious goes, Margie told me about her medallion that she gave to Bran, who was my husband. And I said, that's still in his regalia box. And she went, what? And looked horrified and shocked that he still had it after 8 years, because he just tucked it away, as you do. He was not very formal about wearing his regalia. He was like the stealth peer, but wasn't the stealth peer. And when I brought it out, she rubbed it like it was the ring from the Lord of the Rings, and she teared up, right? And I hadn't been recognized as a pelican, and I thought, that's it. The minute I get, if I ever get asked, that's the one I want, because it's Margie's Precious. Right. So when I got asked and I told Bran that I was taking his medallion, he got quite irate and went, but I've had it for 8 years. It's mine. And I was like, it's not yours now. It's mine. So I got it. But of course, I had told drunkenly the story of my Precious So I only got to keep it for a year because somebody else found out about my precious, and that was Lillian from Mortonvale. And then it's just expanded to everybody now who owns the medallion has to call it my precious when they pass it on, okay? So David, you must do the same, where if somebody ever asks you, like if Arabella gets recognized, then you need to, and she asks for it, then you have to hand on your precious. So that's where that regalia came from.
Yeah, it has a long and illustrious history.
And a missing history as well. It's a bit missing that we don't know where it came from, but it's beautiful in its rusticness. So when now that you've got a little bit more of interaction on one-on-one with each other, because I believe that in Ynys Fawr, the restrictions have raised a little bit, which means that you can gather. Does that mean that fighter practice has started back?
Yeah, we were quite lucky to have a lot of our practices, our archery start back quite a while ago now. Obviously under their own restrictions as well, and their own new things that we all had to learn how to abide by and how to follow, which our barony has taken to great lengths. They've taken to rather quickly. But we have resumed our fighter practice and our archery practice as well.
It's been ANS days as well, and and rapier as well. So yeah, we're quite fortunate down here that we can still do all those things. As we said earlier, we've had two in-person events so far, and we're just about to go to our next in-person event down in the canton of Lightwood this Saturday. So we're both very much looking forward to that as well.
That's great. What would you say your passions are in SCA? Like, what part of the SCA are you not most passionate about, but what do you just love to get in and do?
My passions are wide and varied. I guess my main passion, if you want, is at the moment is the armored combat. I'm enjoying that while I can, and then as I get older, no doubt there'll be a stage when I'll have to step back from that and I'll take on something else. But by the same token, I enjoy doing archery as well, and I like doing different ANS projects and that sort of thing. So when I've made leather armor before and that sort of thing, when the kingdom was lucky enough to gain all that leather a few years ago, I jumped on that bandwagon as well, and stored a heap of leather away. So I've got heaps of material and leather and brass bits and pieces to make stuff out of. So
A man of many passions.
Many passions, as I said before. Many things I want to do, not enough time. I've got all the material to make a Viking tent as well.
But we're not Vikings, we're just traders.
We're just traders.
Make the tent to then sell, right?
Yeah. But it's all a matter about time.
Yeah.
How about you, Arabella?
I'm very similar to my father in the sense of I like to pick up many projects at one time. Not all of them get finished until many years later. But one of my current passions that I'm pursuing is through archery, which is something that I first started off doing when I started in the society and recently picked up in the past year and a bit. So yeah, I've been working on making my own quiver. I'm just about to make my own arrows. I've made them before, but about to make some prettier ones. And then, yeah, I've been fortunate enough to get my own recurve bow, Mongolian sort of style. But yeah, I love everything. And one of my favorite things about the society is because of how diverse we are in our passions across our populace, that I'm allowed to sit there at events or sit there one-on-one with people at a distance and be able to listen to them talk about their passions as well. So I guess people is also one of my passions within the society, because I could sit and listen for hours if somebody is talking about how excited and how passionate they are about things. So many things that we're excited about and passionate about. And I think because of that, we won't ever get I guess bored of the society, because there's so many new opportunities, so many projects that we can finish, that no matter what happens or what befalls us, that we'll always have ample opportunity, if not to live through our own passions, but to live through the other people and their passions as well.
So following on from that, who are your inspirations? Like, who inspire you to be a better version of yourself and to try things that would not normally try?
There's many, we're fortunate, there's many people within this great barony of ours that inspire us. One of those would be Sir Oz. His deportment on both on the field and off the field is just amazing. And he is, I guess, being his squire as well. He's one that somebody I look up to, and aspire to. It'd be great if I could be as good on the field as him combat wise, but to just just my deportment in general, off the field or on the field, and being honest and courteous. But there's a great many others as well. Baron Rolf with his experience and knowledge about the society and the group. Mistress Madeline also with her arts and sciences and her pottery and ceramics that she does. Yes, the Baroness Drustic with all her work that she does as well. And in general, just the heroes of our group and the society itself, I believe is also the officers that step up and volunteer within our society. They're so important, and they're definitely our heroes as well for the service that they give this great game of ours.
And obviously for me, it would also be my father as well. Just because I'm a bit of a sucker, and because it's honest.
I once had somebody define a barony to me as being a boat, and it's funny because you have the lovely Ynys frigate behind you, where the Baron and Baroness are the actual sails on the boat, because you can see them coming with their regalness and their generosity, and that the officers are the oarsmen, and you have to, obviously they have to work in sequence, but if they get tired or something else comes up, you have to rotate them on at a time when they don't get burnt out, and that the seneschal is the person who steers the ship through troubled waters. And I've always kind of thought that was a very apt way of describing, in a medieval-ish term, how baronies and kingdoms run. So yeah, I think you're right. The officers are unsung heroes everywhere across the known world. So
there certainly are the strength, I would say. The strength of the barony is within the people, not necessarily the leaders, but the people, because everyone in their own way is a leader, in their action, in their words, and the way that they treat others with respect and dignity as well.
Well, you've sold me. I'm moving there.
We've got a spare room.
Do you like toddlers?
I'm fine with toddlers, not a problem. As long as they're happy for a buffer tawny, we're good.
So we're actually getting to the point of the interview where we always ask somebody what story they tell after having a couple of drinks or after relaxing at an event. What is the one story that they love to tell? So I'm going to ask Arabella to start this one off, if she doesn't mind.
Well, I'm just still starting to build my stories, to be honest. There are many things that I like to take part in, particularly we've got a very island full of many apples. So I do like to partake in the juices of those apples in very many ways in which they are presented. So my stories do grow upon that. But unfortunately, I'm not the one really telling the stories. Unfortunately, many of the stories are told either about me or by my closest friends and family. So I think I'll leave it as I'm making many stories every time I go to an event, and, you know, loving spending the time with the people there. And I'll pass this question on to Dad.
That was very diplomatically done.
Well, I probably wouldn't tell stories about other people, so I'd have to tell a story about myself, because I think I can laugh at myself anyway. And when we went to, or when I went to festival for the first time, I was introduced to a group of people that partook in whiskey, and I'm not sure that I can say what the full name is, but they partook.
Oh, yes, you can.
So Oz took me along to this whiskey event, and yeah, and the idea is you bring along a bottle of whiskey for everyone to try. And Oz said he was taking along 2 bottles of whiskey for people to try. So I thought, well, I better not bring along 2 bottles of whiskey as well for people to try, and did so. When we got there, there was a spread of whiskies on the table, and it was, I believe, 27 different types of whiskies were ready to be tasted. And of course, these tents that we do these things in, it's candlelight. It gets very dark, and I'd purchased a fine ceramic thimble from Mistress Medallion, and that was going to be my whiskey glass, if you wish. And it wasn't too bad at the beginning of the night when we were tasting the whiskies. It probably got up to the 10th whiskey, and I couldn't really see that well in the tent. And the only way I could tell there was whether it was full without, so I didn't want to waste any whiskey. I had to stick my finger a little bit in so I could pour it in and know when it was full. And that was fine up to about the 15th whiskey, until that didn't work anymore. So it was full when it overflowed. And then by the 27th whiskey, yes, one had trouble standing up. And yeah, but eventually and walking back from that tent that night was a bit difficult, because you had to walk along and across a slope. And it was like going down the slope and then coming back up again. But eventually I did make it back. I believe I made friends with a wombat along the way. He didn't bite me, so that was good. And then, yeah. So all in all, that's the story about the Baron in his cups.
And this is why we don't get my dad to pour drinks. If people are planning on driving or going home, we leave it just for special occasions.
Well, no, I'm very good at pouring drinks for other people, because they get a good serve of whiskey. So
we're into sharing.
Just don't drive afterwards.
And being responsible, such as having our water in between.
Yeah. It's just not very COVID safe, your method of measurement. So you might find something else.
Luckily, it was many times ago. So.
Well, I wouldn't do that for other people. I wouldn't stick my finger in the glass and then.
I would.
No, it just ends up being a very full nip.
Yeah, we're keen on our toasting, and we're keen on wassail, so we're ready for it.
So I'm going to throw out something to your barony. I think that His Excellency obviously needs at least another 2 tea tunics, so people should volunteer to make him some tunics. I also think there should be a saga about you both started, since you've only been on the throne since March. so that you can follow through to the end of your tenure and then read it. So somebody needs to start a saga about you guys.
Many great stories, I'm sure.
Yes,
Yeah,
to add to it.
we definitely look forward to our tenure and creating and having experiencing many stories.
Creating fond memories as well.
Is there a favourite memory that you can put on there to start it off from since March?
Since March. Well, there is. I guess during this COVID period time, we've had a number of people within the group that have stepped up, and I'd like to mention Lord Erlander, who when we found it hard with our home lives to be online, in person all the time, Lord Erlander stepped up and definitely kept our barony together. Very sorry.
That's okay.
Family chat. Happy night. But Lord Erlander has been a wonder. It's not only online. He does many things offline. So he goes along to Wednesday night fighter training and has the keys to the hall and opens up. Yeah,
he's very, very responsible, and I really look forward to seeing what happens in the next few years, and seeing him develop, because he's already such a leader and already such an inspirational character and person within our society. And I love watching people grow and looking 10 years down the track, or 5 years down the track, or even 6 months down the track. This has been one long year, but we look forward to it, and we're very grateful that we have such strong leaders and people within the barony that we have the support of. And yeah.
Yeah, Erlander's word fame is certainly already starting to spread.
So on that note, do you have a final huzzah or call out to your populists before I finalize the interview?
Well, hopefully everyone out there, both within the barony of Ynys and throughout the known world, have enjoyed this time with us, and we're always here. So if you need an ear or want to chat, we're here for you.
100% approachable, and we'll also take this moment just to thank those people in our barony who give us their support, and also show their leadership, and really act as inspiration, not only for ourselves but for those across the known world as well. So thank you as well.
Yeah, we're honoured and privileged to be on the thrones in the barony of Ynys.
Thank you very much. Your Majesty, do you have anything you'd like to say before I finalise the interview?
Oh, no.
So my final words are, Your Excellencies, thank you so much for giving us of your time. It has absolutely been an honor. You both are amazing people, and I will definitely be watching this saga unfold of your actual tenure as the Baron and Baroness of Ynys. Thank you for bringing the known world to, bringing Ynys to the known world and making the known world just that little bit smaller and a little bit bigger at the same time for everybody else. We would like to thank all of our friends and family for watching. If you like the interviews, please tell your friends, or like and share, or give us a thumbs up if you enjoy it. And please stay safe during these very tumultuous times. Our medieval family, I'm using your terminology, Your Excellencies, are very important to all of us. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And we will be back in a couple of days' time. I think we're interviewing Sir Gregory of Lochac on Friday. And there is 2 principalities being interviewed on the weekend as well. And then I will be continually uploading more interviews for people to watch and enjoy. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.